I think there are a lot of benefits and rewards that come from learning the language of jazz. First of all, you're more marketable, you're more versatile, so that you can fit into a lot more situations. But I think more important, your musicianship is strengthened in unusual ways. You find, for example, with your students, when they play in the jazz band, they have to be independent. They're one person on each part. If they don't happen, it doesn't happen. They have to learn to be responsible. They become more independent as musicians, which is going to strengthen them whether they're playing in your jazz band or in your concert band or your orchestra. Some years ago, one of the great saxophonists, classical saxophonists of our time, Don Cinta, took a sabbatical at age 56. At the end of the sabbatical, he published an article and explained that this was the first time he'd ever learned jazz, ever worked on jazz. He'd been playing the saxophone for 49 years, never worked on jazz before. So he started working. He said, I treat a sabbatical like a job. I was there at 8 every morning, and I worked till I couldn't stand it anymore, usually till 2 or 3 in the afternoon or longer if it was going well. And he said, I learned some things about myself that were really surprising. He said, I tried to improvise, and I knew I had a lot of materials, 49 years of accumulated materials, but every time I tried to access them for improvisation, it was access denied. He said, I couldn't figure out why. I kept working at it, and finally he realized, I am totally eye-driven. If I can see it, I can play it. If I have to hear it and then transfer it to fingerings, I'm in trouble. And he worked at that and worked at that, and at the end, 4 pages later, a shocking conclusion. First of all, he says, when I was growing up, I was told that playing jazz would soil my playing, that it was a no-no. He says, I no longer champion that idea. And then he explained that he said, if you're set up strictly as a classical musician, he says, I believe you're utterly frozen. But if you're set up first as a jazz musician and improvised music making is part of what you do, he says, you're much more of a musical mimic. And because you can mimic things easier, you can learn Mozart and Brahms faster. And I really believe that's true. And so then he concluded with, instead of spending 20 years developing eye-to-finger coordinations for reading, let's include the ear in that, eye to finger and ear, eye and ear to finger coordinations, so that we can not only play Mozart's clarinet concerto beautifully, we could also jam on Mozart's changes. And then I add to that, after all, Mozart could do that. Mozart was a great improviser. So was Bach, so was Beethoven. These were great improvisers. Somehow we lost sight of this during the 19th century. But improvisation is a critical part of being a musician and learning. And I think that NAFME, and we have these guidelines that tell us that improvisation should be part of the educational process that we're involved with. This is a great way to do it.
Hey, I'm Guy with A-ccompany, the makers of Mentored by the Masters and the A-ccompany app. We exist to move the world through music and help all musicians grow beyond what they thought possible. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the rest of the series, then click the link below to visit A-ccompany.com. There are hundreds of videos in our Mentored by the Masters library and much more. So click the link below and have an awesome day.